So, you will have found, most of you, that it's around 3 factors or 2 factors, depending whether you would use the bend criterion or you would look at the parallel analysis. It also, if you were to take eigenvalue as one type of criterion, you would have had 1 factor because only one has an eigenvalue greater than 1. Some people also had some errors, and that's because these data are not perfect. So you have some issues with the data, and I won't go into too much detail, but this is here the data are not actually a very good fit overall, so you don't get a very good factor solution. Okay, but if we go back to the self-description data, what I can now do is, based on what we did before, it seemed that we either have 5 factors or 3 factors, depending on whether you would take this very simple structure approach, or whether you would take this more traditional parallel analysis or other approach, or this Scree criterion. So now I'm going to extract 3 and 5. So I do the same thing, but now I do 3 and 5. So I call it FA_3, FA_3. And then I did the same thing for 5. But let's have a look first at 3. So now we just have 3. And we can see the first one now is again, conscientiousness. So the order is swapped a little. So we have conscientiousness because we have carelessness, discipline, responsibility is also another one which pops up there. The second one we could name something like extroversion, introversion, because it loads on talkative. Also loads on being outgoing and being sociable, for example, and also negative on being quiet. And the third one we could probably rate on something as neuroticism, because it loads on things like being tense. What else do we have? Being contrarian a little bit, being harsh. So that probably might tap into some aspects of neuroticism. Yeah. So that's how you would then try to make sense of those factors. You could have also done one with 5, and then again, here we have extroversion. I won't go through it all again, but the goal is that you sort of learn how to interpret from which items pop up what the factor means. And most of the time, it should hit you sort of between the eye and should be able to label it, because there are things you set out to measure, like depression or anxiety or personality or some other things. Okay. We can also try and make a plot of it. And so this is just an example where I've done it. So I did the same thing, but I extracted 5 factors to sort of, rather than us going through the table, to sort of see what's happening. So this one, first one, loads quite strongly and negatively on outgoing, being quiet, talkative, withdrawal, sociableness, shyness, being distant. Yeah. So you can then see these factors, and you can see sort of their loadings, and red for negative, the other one for positive. And the second one is what we've discussed, is likely conscientiousness, tense, worrying, anxious, neuroticism, agreeableness, and then I think openness to experience one is the one I haven't mentioned yet, so that should be mostly that. So not all of them perfectly. Some of them have fewer items than we expected, and there's some items which seem to be loading on the cross on where they might not really fit. For example, laid back is loading here, and we might expect it to be more up here when we talk about conscientiousness. So it doesn't always give you the perfect solution. Yeah. So this is just to visualize all those tables in one go. Yeah, I've already given you the answer, like how you label these type things. So they're the big 5 basically. We can also make a different plot. Look at how busy it is, but it does show all the loadings, and it then shows quite clearly again factor 1, factor 2, factor 3, factor 3, factor 4, factor 5, and it shows via red and green what the loadings are. And it also shows you, actually, there's lots of cross-loading, so there's lots of things loading on other tiny bits as well. So that's why it's such a busy graph. Yeah, but that's the reality of doing factor analysis. So when you take a personality measure, there's lots of things also loading on other factors where they shouldn't be loading. So that's how I made this. So I did this via subplot. I got the loadings, and then I built this, and I said to use the standardized things and put it into a circle. Yeah, we can try and make this plot yourself for your factor analysis. So just with either one or two, with 2 or 3 factors. So just make that diagram for your example. Is it supposed to be what?
Is it supposed to be a 1 or 0, 1?
It should be a 1. So this is basically the margin. So I should explain that better. That's basically how much white space you need to have on every single side of it. So that doesn't affect any of this, but this is by trial and error. You can sort of see if it will fit on the page. So it's the mar thing is how many margins on the sides, top, bottom you want to have. And so you can try with that setting as well, or without.